who voted with her to impeach President Trump in the House and the handful of senators that voted to convict him in the Senate. But it's certainly not the majority view in the party, as we'll no doubt see on Sunday. And it will play itself out, in part at least, in some congressional races where those Republicans who voted for impeachment and those Republicans who voted for a conviction may not only face censures from local Republican organizations, as so many have, they may face primary challenges. Well, here in Illinois, Adam Kinzinger in the 16th, he's been censured by the Will County Republican Party, by the LaSalle County Republican Party, and now he's got a primary challenge in the form of Catalina Lauf, who you may remember ran for Congress in 2020, this last cycle. Crowded primary to face Lauren Underwood. She narrowly lost to Jim Oberweis in that primary for the nomination. But she outperformed, I think, everybody's expectations except perhaps her own. It was definitely an impressive insurgent candidacy for a first-time candidate. And she joins us now to talk about this latest undertaking. Catalina Lauf, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Thibault.
What has spurred you to this primary challenge of Kinzinger?
You know, it's exactly what you were just mentioning, the comments by Congresswoman Liz Cheney. You know, this is just, they are completely out of touch with the voters, the constituents. You know, what we saw in 2016 with the rise of President Trump when we made that referendum on getting away from the values of the old establishment, the big, war hawks, the voting with Democrats, not standing firm on our values. And then, within the last couple years, we've seen the rise of the ultra far left because we haven't had strong people supporting our values, strong conservatives. And now you have people like Adam Kinzinger who are now going around prancing around MSNBC and CNN instead of being firm against President Joe Biden, being firm against the far left. He's basically become one of them. And, I don't mind him being in politics, but he might as well change to become a Democrat because he's not representing the values of Northern Illinois anymore. And it's time that we go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
that's what I was thinking too. Why not just join that party or be a full-time CNN contributor? Because he seems to care more about his national airtime than he does his constituents.
Absolutely. Over the last summer, things like BLM, all the riots that happened that affected the suburbs, the COVID-19 response. This is not just about impeaching President Trump for the second time, which was a complete circus the first time. Then the American people had to go through it again on a phony impeachment hoax. It's not just about that. It's the fact that if you want to be a leader, if you want to be elected in Congress, you should be the voice of thousands of people who in your party who supported you and represent the district as a whole. That district, Illinois 16, is a Republican district at heart. It's time that it has accurate representation.
And it seems to me, you can like or dislike President Trump, and it seems to me the real offense that Kinzinger and Cheney and some others have committed is adopting the left's caricature of the Republican Party writ large and Trump voters writ large. It's one thing to say I disagree with how he handled things on January 6th. It's another. I disagree with some of his rhetorical choices. I disagree with him on some policy issues. Fine. There's room for disagreement, of course. It's another thing to say we're not the party of white supremacy. Well, who's saying we are? Everything. This is how the Illinois Republican Party does it. Is defines itself in the negative. I'm going to spend all my time telling you what I'm not, based on what I'm illegitimately being accused of being. And Kinzinger's response to all this is, "Oh, we need to, shut down the outrage machine." And yet he goes on CNN and sits idly by while Anderson Cooper compares what happened on January 6th to the Rwandan genocide, for goodness sake. So, that all of this talk of principle is not only adopting the caricature of the party that the left promotes, but it's also projecting onto themselves what they wish they had, which is a principled position.
You're absolutely right, and very well said there, Dan, because what it comes down to is ultimately, there are still 75 million plus people who, we're upset. I mean, the last 6 months, even the last 4 years, have been a complete circus in Congress. Now everything that's happening with COVID-19, the whole presidential Biden, the campaign leading up to the inauguration. I mean, people are upset. There are legitimate questions that need to be answered. There are legitimate concerns with what President Biden and Kamala Harris want to push now, and who is fighting for what is right on the Republican conservative side. When we have weak Republicans and the establishment, that is the problem. And it's time that we have the voices of the majority of the party. We are more united as a party now more than ever. And our fight is with the far left, the socialists. Let's try to, get together now. Get rid of these minority voices in the party, which are the Liz Cheneys and the Adam Kinzingers and Mitt Romneys in the Senate, and understand that our country in the Republican Party is moving on the America First agenda, and it's the most inclusive agenda. I'm the daughter of somebody who came here from Latin America to pursue the American dream, that we made so many gains in all different demographics with the America First agenda. President Trump did well in so many different areas that historically Republicans do not. And we need to capture the essence of that in new leadership, and especially here in Illinois, because we are losing our ground here.
What did you make of when Adam Kinzinger went on, gave an interview to the New York Times and handed them a letter that his family had written him, saying how disappointed that they were in him? It just seems so like the victimhood, look at me, even my family hates me.
Of course. And he clearly loves the attention and loves the spotlight, which is also another issue. He started that PAC. It's been funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. This has become just the Adam show. He went to D.C., forgot where he came from, forgot the roots, and is clearly, again, like you mentioned, Amy, angling for an MSNBC or CNN contributorship. And if that's what ultimately he wants to do, then he might as well go do it and allow somebody out here who actually wants to fight for the people here in the Illinois 16th district and in Illinois. Frankly, we need better leadership all across the board. The Democrats are making gains all around here. They're flipping seats like what happened in Illinois 14 with Lauren Underwood, and they're one by one turning this state more blue than it could possibly be. It's time that we hold the line. It really is. And we have adults in the room that want to make change.
You mentioned about the representation of the 16th district, which is a pretty rock-solid Republican district still. And so this is not just a referendum on Trump or his impeachment vote. It's also a referendum on his record over the past 10 years. And recently, if you go look at, for example, the American Conservative Union's rankings by vote on substantive issues that implicate conservative philosophy and policymaking, Kinzinger's at 60%, and he's been lower in years past. That is not conservative leadership. That's muddled at best, and particularly when you have so much profligate spending and so much expansion of government, and frankly, Kinzinger has been completely absent with respect to the advance of cultural Marxists in big tech and in every other institution. So, beyond Trump even, what exactly is the value you're getting from Adam Kinzinger? It seems to me is a question that needs to be put to GOP voters in that district.
You're absolutely right. And his voting from a defense perspective, we are still in a 20-year war. And he's voted consistently with, globalist war hawks and things like that. Looking at our international footprint, voting on these these policies that are completely taking away from what we are here in terms of work, manufacturing. A lot of the area, you look at Rockford, you look at even places out here in the northern suburbs. We are hurting. Small businesses are hurting. And we need better leadership when it comes to providing economic opportunity, making things work for the American worker out here, being more creative and more innovative from a pro-growth perspective, but also standing up to the globalists, standing up to the cultural Marxism. I mean, we're fighting these ideologies from all different angles, and we need lions in Congress. We truly do, and we cannot afford as a country to have people like Adam just playing these lines back and forth. It's not helpful for constituents, and it's not helpful for the overall message of the Republican Party.
Well, and what you see in states that are dying, like Illinois too, that are dominated by the left, is a Republican Party that's essentially surrendered. And it's the men and women of always. And I think this is one of the reasons why your candidacy in 2020 got some traction. I think that surprised many, which is there's a desire among the rank and file, the base, those without titles, to usher in a new generation of leadership in addition to a new attitude.
Absolutely. And thank you. And that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish, not only for millennials, but for being able to expand the party base. A lot of the time, it's just the Illinois Republicans have been so absent here that there's so much work that needs to be done on a grassroots perspective. There are people that are excited and want to be involved, and even more so now because they're watching the news. They see what's happening, and people are waking up. But we need an infrastructure that is going to be able to organize and get the message out there and really push back in a way that we haven't before. There is hope in this state. There is always hope. And we just need to encourage people to be able to use their voice, use their activism and their platforms to be able to push back on this that's happening. So I'm really looking forward to being able to be that on a national scale with the platform that I've built over the last a couple years on not being afraid to fight against the far left, but also being able to work for actual change here on a grassroots perspective, because people's voices are not being heard right now, and they deserve to be heard. People deserve to be listened to here in Illinois, and I think we can make a lot of gains here as the Democrats become more radical.
Do you think you're able to, or have you been able to sort of consolidate the support of those who are upset with Kinzinger, Republicans, I mean, including the organizations, such that it will be Catalina Lauf versus Kinzinger? Because it seems to me that's what you want. The more crowded the primary, the more that benefits Kinzinger.
Absolutely. No, you're spot on. And I think, over the campaign has just begun, right? I think over the course of the next few months, we'll see that there are clear, serious candidates, and there's one clear, serious candidate, and it is very much Catalina against Adam. And at the end of the day, there are opportunities not just to be against Adam, but also to be able to grow the base in a way that Republicans in the past have not been able to. Ultimately, people on both sides of the aisle get very frustrated when they vote for somebody and then they go to Washington and then they forget where they came from. A big push of mine is term limits. I mean, for the last decades, we've been lied to about, we'll push term limits. That's never been beneficial to folks on either side of the aisle. But I believe with new representation, people that are not afraid to back down and have voices, we can actually accomplish things like that. There is no need for people to go out to Washington, forget where they came from, not work for their constituents. That we've had enough of that, and that is a frustration on both sides of the aisle, frankly.
And Catalina, I love your announcement video, and they should follow you on Twitter, Catalina Lauf, Lauf. You've got 5,666 views so far, so good job.
Yes, thank you very much.
And
Catalina sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Other contact info for the campaign.
Yep, CatalinaForCongress.com and just Catalina Lauf on all social media platforms.
Catalina Lauf, Republican candidate for the 16th Congressional District come next year. Catalina, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you guys have a great day.
Yep, you too, and she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you aware that AmericanEagle.com has been designing websites since the internet started? Do you know they've helped companies large and small achieve results that they themselves thought impossible? Today, a well-designed website is an art form. There are no cookie-cutter solutions. At AmericanEagle.com, they are proud to design and develop a website that fits their client's business. Their experience shows that a well-designed website with the client's business at the forefront will bring an excellent return on their investment. Clients, from startups to medium and large businesses, have come to